when I'm getting to the bag, ayy. Got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast, ayy. Ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss, ayy.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live at IANA here, you guys. And I got my good friend Reed with Truck Parking Club out here. We got this amazing setup. Shout out to IANA and their team for putting this all together and inviting me out here to record some content out here and get to see some people in person for the first time. And I don't know, it's been a few months, man, out in San Antonio. And, you know, for me, it's always great to be down there and especially chop up what's going on. So, dude, what brought you guys out to IANA? What's this show do for a company like Truck Parking Club?
Well, for those who don't know, we're a truck parking marketplace, and basically any sort of company that has outdoor space, yards, warehousing, anything like that is a suitable kind of prospect for us on our property side. So anyone with outdoor industrial space can list truck parking on truckparkingclub.com. And so, you know, drayage carriers, cross docks, warehousing, ports, anybody like that is a prospect for us on the property side. But on the parking side, drayage carriers use us a lot, drop chassis, loaded containers, stuff like that. So really, for us, we go to a ton of different types of shows, and a lot of times people are like, "Why are you guys here?" And we're just like, "Hey, man, like we get a couple properties, we're good to go." You know, like, and so we go to everything, and this is we've already, you know, had a bunch of good conversations here, and folks are, you know, once we kind of break through and they're like, "Oh, I get it." It's a super differentiated thing here. Most people don't expect to talk to somebody like what we're doing. And so it just makes it pretty simple for us. Yeah.
No, absolutely. You know, if you think about it, I mean, the way that a lot of port work operates, you know, you got, you know, 30, 40 mile runs into the Inland Empire. And especially if you're dropping it for a couple of days because the receiver can't take it, and having those staging yards. I mean, and especially, I look at it like even as a broker, right? Like looking into this, if you're offering drayage at any level at all, like you need to have some form of drop yard because I pulled enough containers out of the port to know that it doesn't go as planned. And that must arrive by date comes up quick. Your receiver can't take it. And then the storage fees rack up a lot. And, you know, for me, it's just like, I look at it is like we were discussing before we jumped on, like when I come to a show like this, I'm trying to think downstream. It might not be like, hey, I might not be able to find a shipper here, or there might not be a direct business thing, but like, how can my business benefit from something like this? So, you know, it's like, for me, it's like going out there and finding cross-docking facilities, stuff like that, because things happen, right? Like I don't have a pie in the sky methodology to my business of like, oh, nothing's ever going to happen. I'm trying to think 2 or 3 steps ahead at all times. Like if this happens, who do we turn to in that environment, you know? And I think like that's where a lot of people, I think like that's just where the industry is now for, you know, depending on what sector you're in, you got to think outside of the box. Like, I mean, you've been in this, when did you get into logistics?
2016.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, going pre-COVID with the way things were, at least for me from like a business development standpoint, Reed, where you could kind of be a generalist out there, right? You could kind of be like, hey, we'll do anything. Just give us a shot. I've seen a massive shift out there from a business development perspective where people are like, no, we need specialists. We need people who can actually do what they say they're going to do at a very high level. And you can blame COVID for that because COVID flipped the supply chain upside down. So it's like you need to have things in your arsenal to be able to operate at a high level, because if you don't, like, I know people talk shit on me when I say this, but like there's guys like me out there who will find a solution for those customers. There's never going to be an opportunity where we're going to throw our hands up and hope it works itself out. We're out there, and I'm like, I'm fortunate, like where I know you guys, where if I needed a spot, I can call Truck Parking Club, I can call cross-docking facilities and make that stuff work. It's no longer the, hey man, we can move your freight for you. That's just not going to get it done anymore.
I mean, it was brokerage in a sense is a commodity business. And so differentiating yourself really at the end of the day does come down to one, what you can do and how you do it for them and kind of your reliability. And that's what makes it an interesting business, because it's hard to differentiate yourself on the surface until somebody's really worked with you. But I mean, I think it's an interesting time to be in this industry, especially with the market, how it's been for so long. And I mean, I think, you know, there's also something to be said about showing up to stuff like this and just meeting people, getting face to face. You know, oftentimes you meet somebody and you're like, man, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. whether you're us, a truck parking club, talking about, listing somebody's property or them parking with us, or you're a brokerage trying to get business from them, trying to get freight. I mean, it'd be easy to be like, oh, I met him, and if it doesn't work out, I don't get a load, or they don't list with us this one, after this one meeting, that it's all over. But then, you might show up next year, show up, meet them again. They'll be like, oh, hey, and they might have seen what you've done between now and then. They're going to start to build some level of, affinity and knowledge about you. And they're like, oh, I met that person. So it's really, it's hard to kind of quantify immediately after an event, like what the impact is. But I think long-term, you just show up over and over and over again, it can really be a huge difference maker too.
Yeah. You guys are out there probably more than anybody that I've seen in the industry. But I look at it is I almost feel, Reed, that business development is going to inevitably revert back to what you guys do with that boots on the ground methodology, right? Because I feel like automation's, it's great, but it's going to go too far. And then people are going to be like, well, how do I know you're real?
The robo cold calls are going to get out of control, man.
Dude, they're already out of control.
People hate cold calls. You know what I mean? Nobody likes getting cold called. Nobody likes getting cold called. And it's a big difference if you can meet somebody and maybe you meet them for a couple minutes. But if you call them a couple weeks later, hey, we met at IANA, I'm Reed with whatever, right? It's just like even that one like kind of footnote in somebody's brain of meeting them, knowing they're real. I mean, that's just puts you a step above, Joe Schmo who's calling you 15 times a week. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. It's 100%. I look at it as just like getting out there and again, like seeing where can your business improve? Because like you guys going out there and talking to more people, I'm sure it leads to what you and Evan and the team are doing behind the scenes. Like, hey, we're looking at this wrong. Yep. We talked to this drayage carrier or this company. Totally. We got to start looking at it from this perspective.
Well, I mean, it's actually super interesting for us because we oftentimes we see carriers parking with us and we don't exactly know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We don't know if they're dropping containers for what reason they're doing it. And then when we come to events like this and we meet with a carrier that's been parking with us, and we learn a little bit more about how it actually affects their operations or how it's enabling them to do things they weren't otherwise able to do. Then we're just like, oh, that's the story.
Yeah.
And then we turn around and tell that story, on socials, in all of our content, in every conversation we have on shows like this. And so really, it's just a good learning opportunity at the end of the day too, even if somebody's not actually a customer with us. Right. Like we were talking to a drayage carrier yesterday who kind of said exactly what you said. Like we need to get containers off the port and we're being charged fees if they're overage or if they're there too long, and our facility's full, our customer's facility's full. And now we're kind of scrambling and we're like, what the heck do we do? Yeah. And we're like, oh, we didn't ever really think about it that way. Yeah. And now, so when we talk to drayage carriers, we're just like, hey, do you ever pull a container out of the port and not know where to put it?
Yeah.
Here, you don't have to Google anymore. You don't have to call a million people. You don't have to send checks in the mail to some random guy. You don't have to sign your leases. If you just need a space for a couple weeks, we got you.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, right? And I feel like even having that in your back pocket to be able to pull that out, because dude, I have customers who came to us who are like, hey, this thing is here at the port. We just need this out.
Yeah.
And, again, it's like having that out there to be able to execute upon that. And, I look at it like with you guys from a marketing perspective as well. You guys have taken content to like the next level, I think, right? Like getting out there, highlighting your properties and stuff like that. How are you guys balancing the new age kind of content creation aspect of the business? I mean, because you guys just started the clubhouse out there as well. Why, what is it with it? Because to me, it's like you guys are doubling and tripling down on this branding. I love it. I'm all for it. But what's the real driving purpose behind a lot of that?
I mean, I think we're in an interesting position because we've got a bunch of different audiences.
Yeah.
We've got drivers, and drivers are an incredibly diverse set of population. Yeah. Right? Owner ops, company drivers, every single mode, heavy haul, whatever, the huge set of audiences. Then we have on our property side, every single type of property that could possibly list their space with us. That's trucking companies with yard space. That's towing companies, it's repair shops, it's self-storage operators, it's warehouses, it's racetracks. Yeah. It's like an insanely diverse population. And so that makes kind of telling a story personally to each one of them kind of at scale on social very, very difficult, right? And so we kind of got to pick and choose our battles because we can't just like hit every single population like methodic. It just doesn't really work. And so we've kind of like spent most of our time thinking about marketing to drivers.
Yeah.
And so that's why we go to so many truck shows. That's why we record so many videos at our locations to show drivers what they're getting with us. That's why we, do driver interviews. That's why we do kind of the off the cuff stuff we do, because we found that sort of appeals to the driver the most. And that's who, honestly, we're, most concerned with reaching, because if we can reach them and we can tell the story to them and we can get them, acquainted with what we're doing, and we can build the demand, and then we do a good job acquiring supply to fill, spaces for the drivers that are looking for them, then the whole system kind of works. So it's my job is actually a lot easier on the content side because the team does such a good job recording content. Yeah. I don't have to ask anybody. I don't have like Hunter on our team who goes to all the truck shows. I don't have to ask him to record videos with people. He's just kind of crazy, and he'll go up to anybody and be like, "Hey, do you want to talk? Can you talk to us? Tell me about your truck. Tell me about what you do. Tell me about your property," anything like that. He'll do it. And our whole team is basically like that. And Evan does a great job on podcasts, doing kind of the executive sort of thing. And he's also super good with drivers too. So, I mean, from a content standpoint, it's really not that hard. I've got a massive catalog of content. Yeah. And so it's just about, doing some simple edits and just figuring out, okay, like what are the kind of the major stories we're trying to tell to the world? Like, okay, let's just hammer those into people's brains and just do it for years. Basically.
No, I think that, even still, because I've been doing this now for over 5 years with all of this, and it still shocks me that people aren't bought into like, this is the way things are, right? Like even podcasting, Reed, like I look at it like this, like traditional media is dead, right? I don't care what anybody says. Traditional media is dead. Newspapers are dying. Radio's dying out. I feel like people want to hear from the people who are actually doing the work, right? Sure. And it's like for me with my strategy and all of this, like engagement might suffer a little bit for those short-term bumps, right? Because like I don't jump on stuff right away just to be the first one to talk about it. I have this this really odd concept and strategy of like waiting a couple of days for the information to come out, because like how much
would you ever want to do that?
I know, right?
Why would you want to verify things before you spread it? Why would you do that?
Yeah, I know, right? But like I look at it is like this is where it's going to continue to evolve, right? Like it's going to be more and more niche. It's going to be more and more strategic, to where people are going to want to come out, and it's like if they're going to want to start a business inside of trucking, they don't want to just go to like a generalist podcast. Sure. They want to go inside and like, who are these people who are talking about it, who are actively doing the work?
Yes.
And and especially now leveraging content, like how much more engagement do you guys get just from showing up, right? Because like your audience expects it now, and then they're waiting for that stuff to come out.
Yeah. I mean, I think most people, most companies, most individuals have not really, they don't understand how to leverage this new medium, so to speak. And I think a lot of times people, like there's this idea, like, does the world need another podcast? Like that is such a stupid way to look at this. Yeah. It's so dumb. Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter if 1,000 people watch it or 5 people watch it. If it's the right message for the right person, it doesn't matter how many people watch it, right? And so it's easy to kind of get caught up in this, like, and one, it's also kind of like what's the word? Projection of like insecurities saying that. Like, it's like, oh no, I couldn't go out there and do that. Like that feels weird to me. It's uncomfortable. But like at the end of the day, it's like, if you have a niche and you have something to say about it and you operate in it and you have stories to tell about it and you tell it to the world, the people who are also in that, and then you just do a good job getting it in front of an audience who's like interested in that sort of thing. I mean, that's just like invaluable long term. I mean, it builds credibility with your customers, potential customers. It builds credibility with, employees who might be looking for a job. I mean, it's just, and that's a catalog that lives on forever. And it's so hard to overrate what that can do for an individual in a business. So.
I look at it as because like when I first started doing all of this stuff, it was, it was uncomfortable to get in front of a camera. Like, dude, I'll never forget. Like, I keep my early stuff up there for a reason.
Did you do orange from the beginning?
Not every single day, but it evolved in because like I didn't know how to create anything, right? And then my buddy JD Redmond, he was like, "Do you have a logo?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "What do you mean logo?" And then he's like, "Oh, I got you. I'll create it." Yeah. And then he sent it over in orange, and I'm like, "That's it. That's the color I'm going with. I'm going blaze orange because I am not with all due respect, I'm not going to be rocking a navy blue blazer at every conference because that's what everybody does. And I was like, man, if I'm going to do this, I got to stand out in the crowd. But to your point about content, I want people to recognize me.
For
right?
sure.
And it is that branding thing because people are going to see it. They're going to walk by this show. People are already walking by here recording this.
Yeah.
They're like, the orange shirt guy, who is that? They're going to find it on social media. And it all tells that story.
Yeah.
But I also look at it as this is one of those situations now where, again, you could be the most niche-based creator out there, but you said it best, man. It might only reach 100 people an episode. But if that's the right 100 people, Gary Vee gets a lot of flack out there. But he's like, there's a multi-six-figure business model out there for construction or home improvements and stuff like that because brands will pay so much money to get it in front of the right eyeballs.
Totally.
And I almost think influencer culture, I don't want to say it's going away, but like people, like you lose credibility when you're promoting, oh, hey, I'm a health influencer. Now I'm going to talk about finance. Now I'm going to talk about this. The people who stay course out there and they're like, this is where we're going to stay. This is the vertical that we're in and we're passionate about. That is where the media avenue is going to continue to evolve because, again, they want more tribal knowledge. They want more people who actually know what they're talking about because it's just like I feel like people play themselves out who go in. They're like, I just want to go viral. And then they're just saying the most outlandish bullshit on their stuff all the time. And it just never grows out past that.
Going viral is oftentimes, it is kind of overrated in my opinion. We definitely have, like Truck Parking Club, we have opportunities to post things that definitely do go viral. And it does grow your follower base. It does, look good on the impression count. And it's easy to be like, oh, yeah, we did this many impressions. But it's like, at the end of the day, if it's going to people who aren't, don't need to park trucks or like don't have property, then, perhaps there's something to be said about long-term building a kind of a household brand, depending on the business, obviously. But for most people, I just think it's irrelevant. And it's, but it's also fun sometimes. And so it's when a post pops off, you're just like, dang, that feels really good. Like, even if it doesn't do anything, it's still kind of fun. So I won't throw too much shade about worrying about that. But.
No, I know what you mean, but it's also like, you can tell that people are just chasing to go viral at times too, And I look at it as, it's like, if you're going to go out there, like what's more valuable if you're going to go out there and try and market your business, like that same 10,000 people showing up every single month after month, year after year, or 1 month where you get 100,000 and then nothing again, right?
Yeah, if you're talking about like a B2B sort of media, for sure. There's no question. You do want to be entertaining and interesting because that's what keeps people coming back, and you want to have good content, obviously. But kind of being virality isn't super terribly important, I don't think.
So what was it about the clubhouse that you guys built up? What was the main kind of driving force behind that, and how is that going to evolve out?
Yeah, so we, we're operating it as if we're a property member. So one of our locations. So it's on our platform. Any driver can book it. And so we're really, it puts us in a position to use our product as the rest of our customers do. And so, immediately when we started parking trucks and we started looking at our product, we were just like, oh man, like that doesn't make any sense. Like, how do I find this? Like, so simple thing, yard audit. Yeah. Like, who's supposed to be here right now? Who has a booking with us that's active? How do we walk around, look at the app and be like, okay, that truck is good. That truck's good. That trailer's good. And so that's just an example of like, okay, like we're actually having to use our own tool, and it's so much richer information that you get back from that sort of thing when you're actually doing it yourself. And that's just an example. And then also it's like, we came out with an access control thing. So we've got a box that hooks on the gates, and you can open the gate with on our app when you have a booking. We installed that at our location. We've had to, test that nonstop. Yeah. And so in every single new product we come out with, we will be the first ones testing it now. Yeah. And that just makes everything better. It just gives us some real experience about what we're asking our properties to do, which is park trucks when a lot of them have never done that before. Yeah. Ever. And they've never even thought about doing it. And so we have to make it look easy, and we have to make it easy, not just look easy. So it's just a super, and then obviously we get to meet all drivers who come in with us, and we've already had so many interesting interactions. Like a couple weeks ago, we had a driver who parked middle of the night, and we came into the office the next morning, and we opened up the door, and he ended up coming inside and hanging out with us for a while. And he was like, yeah, man, there's a Circle K down the street where you can get fuel, but they don't have parking. And he's like, man, I had 10 minutes on my clock, and I finished fueling. I went to the Pilot down the street, full, nowhere to park. The ramps were all full. The rest area is full. And I saw your sign because we've got 45-foot billboards right on I-75. It's like, I saw your sign. I Googled you. I booked a spot, and I got parked in under 10 minutes. And I'm like, man, you guys are the best. Like, I never heard of this before, and this is awesome. Like, you saved my ass, basically. Yeah. And that's happened a couple times in a short amount of time. And I imagine it'll continue to happen. So, hearing those stories and really, spending some time sitting down with folks, because we've got, a bunch of couches and we grill every day. So we got steaks and we got ribs and stuff, and we've got snacks, we got coffee. So people come in and hang out. And drivers, we got drivers parking with us monthly, and they'll come in the office every morning when they park their truck for the day, and they're just like, hey, what's going on? So we just check in with folks, and you just drivers, you spend enough time with drivers, you're just like, man, these folks are literally the most diverse group of people ever, like from every walk of life. And they all have interesting stories to tell, and they like to talk. Yeah. And if you're there to listen, you're going to learn a lot of interesting things. And it's just great. It's just great.
Inside of my brokerage, we always have this thing where it's like dispatchers tell you what you want to hear, drivers are going to tell you the truth. And, my dad is a driver, right? Yeah. So it's like, I know that personality type out there. Yeah. And, and I look at it's like, if we want this industry to change and get fixed, like we need to start talking to more drivers, like, and actually hearing what they're saying, as opposed to some guy who's, never driven a truck before out there as a talking head, as a driver representative and stuff like that. And, I think like that's one thing that I love the most about what you guys are doing is, you guys are out there actively trying to improve the driver experience. And, again, I don't know if anybody that's a fan of ELDs out there, but like that's a reality. And that guy's story out there is one of many of so many drivers who, logbook violation, whatever that happens.
It's every day. It's every day. It's probably tens or hundreds of thousands of drivers a day are kind of inconvenienced by the rigidity of like the ELD. Yeah. And it's a huge drag on the industry, right? I mean, if you're a driver and you've got 3 hours left on your clock and you go and get fuel and you're parked and you're like, okay, like if I drive 3 more hours, am I going to find a spot? Or is it going to be 10 p.m. and every truck stop's going to be full, every rest area is going to be full? Like probably most of the time they're just going to stay put, and that time is gone. Yeah. And that, multiplied across the entire industry over a year is like billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars of kind of lost productivity. And that affects the drivers, that affects the fleets, and that just affects the throughput of the system as a whole. And so what we're really doing is building a network of locations. We've got 47,000 spaces across 2,800 locations now. And eventually we'll have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of spaces and tens of thousands of locations. And ultimately it's just going to provide, like, we hope to create a world where that's no longer a thing, where a driver is like, oh, I can go those extra 3 hours. Yeah. I can go an extra couple hours during the day. And I know I'm going to have a spot. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Right. And that's just a totally kind of game changing thing for the driver, right? Like as a civilian, you drive around in your car, you don't often worry about where you're going to park your car. Maybe if you're driving into Manhattan during like the NBA finals, like game 7, you're like, man, where am I going to park my car? But even then you're probably going to pay out the ass, but you're going to find a spot. Yeah. But just like imagine if it's like every single day, that is the level of anxiety about where you're going to park every single day for your job. I mean, that's a quality of life thing. Yeah. That's a productivity thing. That's an economic thing. That's just like it probably affects turnover and retention of drivers. I mean, and companies that provide access to this to their drivers eventually are going to have a leg up on their competition. And so we're making it easy for fleets to do that. And we're making it easy for fleets to provide this benefit to their company drivers, especially. And I think long term we'll hopefully put a serious dent in that sort of issue for drivers and fleets and for the system as a whole.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind you guys are going to get that figured out. Reed, thank you so much for your time today. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining me. That's going to be it for this. We're going to be rocking out about 5 more of these. You guys, this will be a nice little mashup episode that we're going to be putting out after this. But again, we're live at IANA. Check it out, you guys. Learn more about the intermodal and drayage space. Appreciate you guys. We'll be talking to you soon.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are not live. This is actually, I think, the first time I've ever done this, and this is a kind of a post-show breakdown. Back in September, I was invited to come out to IANA in Long Beach, California, to do my show there, and that never, I don't know, it's still wild to me that people want me to come and speak at their events and do my podcast from their events and stuff like that. But just a quick thank you to Nick, David, and especially Ann Renke over at IANA for the invite to come out and record some mashup episodes while I was there. And it to me, I'm a student of the game, whether it comes to podcasting or freight. And admittedly, I don't have a ton of experience on the intermodal side of the industry. I've moved a couple of loads here and there, but I got nothing in depth, right? And to go in and immerse myself in that environment for a few days and just learn, right? Like it's very rare when you find yourselves in those situations, especially when you've been doing something, as long as I have. I've been in trucking for almost 20 years now. And it's rare to be in a room where I feel like it's like a foreign language being spoke around me. I have no idea what was being said. And for me, it's important to go out and get out of your comfort zone and learn new modes, because ultimately anything I can do to bring more value to my customers inside of my freight brokerage, like I'm all ears. And if there's a way that I can learn something new, a new skill set, a new mode to more efficiently and effectively move their freight, I'm going to be all on board with that. And, and especially learning from like a policy perspective, like one of the groups that were speaking up there, there were people from all walks of the industry, ports, commerce, everything, and just learning from that group of individuals about what they're up against, and then the policy decisions that are being made by the current administration right now in regards to tariffs. I mean, tariffs is all the talk everywhere right now, what that's going to do for the economy and everything else. And, seeing all the freight volumes and stuff out there and how that's affecting the industry, right? So it's like, for me, it's so important to go out there and learn from multiple different perspectives. And I think that that's something that I hope more and more people do. And especially if you're in the intermodal drayage industry, or you're just wanting to learn more about that, I would highly, highly, highly recommend anybody go out there and go to an IANA event. It's worth it. It's worth every second of it. It's a phenomenal investment for your business, but also for the understanding on the industry. And getting down and the thing that was amazing for me is they had this podcast set up for me, right? Like usually I bring essentially my entire studio here in Arizona. I pack it up in a couple of Pelican cases and fly it out on site with wherever I'm going. And they had this awesome setup for me, and which was phenomenal. I've never had that before, right? So it's like I literally just flew in. I organized all of my interviews with people prior to the fact, and I had the 3-hour block, and all my audio and video was done for me. And then they sent over the recordings to my team, and my team created a couple of mashup videos, and you'll see my final interview here after this runs. It's going to be with my good friend Reed at Truck Parking Club. And, so it's like we broke it down into a multi-part series here. The first one was with my good friend Christy with Nickel Logistics. They are intermodal everything at the end of the day. They offer, OTR and stuff as well, but it was great to sit down and see her in her element, because I normally only see her at the TIA. So it was great to have her in her element there. And then Gary Van Tassel as well, and learning what they're building, like the pioneers of AI. They've been doing AI since like the 60s or something like that. Like it was just wild. And then just to see how that technology is fitting into their target market. And then my second mashup episode was with Curtis Spencer. And he is one of the most passionate individuals that I've ever interviewed. And I'm actually having him back on the show later on this month there. So you won't have to wait, because I didn't feel like I had enough time to speak with him. There's a certain level of passion that comes from a founder, and he embodies that. And then I was also able to interview my good friend Keith Peterson of the NMFTA, and him, the Digital Standards Council. I watched his panel up there, and we have a lot of stuff going on in this industry, and it's so important that we're all speaking the same technical language out there, I feel like it's going to streamline a lot of operations. And, being everybody speaking the same language, from a technical sense, I think is the way of the future. And the faster we adopt a lot of that, I feel like the smoother our operations are going to become. And, again, back to AI, for example, if you want to have clean data being ran out there, like, you need a set standard of how you're communicating internally. And that's going to help you get that tech up and running in a lot faster direction, right? So it's like hearing that stuff. And again, it's like when I'm in some of these rooms, like, I'm an absolute novice. And those are the environments that I like to put myself in more times than not, because I want to be challenged. I want to learn about all things transportation at the end of the day. Like, yes, the bulk of my experience is in traditional freight brokerage, but there's so many different sectors of this. And especially with emerging technologies, we want to be in front of that. And then finally, being able to sit down with my good friend Reed with Truck Parking Club. I mean, they're a content machine. And as somebody who creates content for a living out here as well, I respect what they're doing. I respect their hustle as an organization as well, because very few people are as in many places as Evan is, and Brent Hutto and the entire Truck Parking Club team. Like, they're everywhere. And I respect that hustle more than anything. And, I look at a lot of these environments that I'm a part of now and that I get invited to now is, it's like I have a duty, I think, as someone who is a distinguished member of the media, as people like to say, but as somebody who is out here reporting on transportation, whether it's in the form of best practices, current events, emerging technologies, and everything else, I feel like I have a responsibility to put the right information out there for people. And this is a better time than ever to always remind people, like, I'm not probably going to be the first one to report on a lot of hot button issues inside of the industry, but I am going to report on them after I've had some time to digest a lot of what it is, because I take what I do very seriously, and I don't want to put the wrong stuff out there. And, the opportunity to go out, and learn from the crowd at IANA it's a phenomenal organization, top down. It was a top tier event inside of the industry. And I would just highly recommend everybody go out there and check that out. And, you guys should go. You should learn different modes. You should learn different sectors of the industry. You never know when it's going to benefit you, your customers, or you might just learn something a little bit more. And I think that's what's most important is being in those environments. And, I will say this, anybody else who invites me out to their show to do my show, IANA set the bar pretty high at the end of the day. And, I'm just playing. It was great to be able to show up and create and, not have to worry about the technical side of things, because that's one thing that it's on my mind more times than not when I'm traveling is, like, hey, is this recording actually? Is the camera working properly? How's the audio sounding? And, it's just those little things that, most people don't think about when they're out there, listening to podcasts, especially when you're going remote and stuff like that. But, nonetheless, I appreciate you guys. If you guys want to get caught up on the other mashup episodes from IANA, it's episode 1290 and then 1294 are the other two about this. And again, I just think that you need to get out there, learn more about this industry. And then, everything starts and stops at the ports. A lot of stuff are done on the trains and, via intermodal and everything else. And just learning more about what policy is out there that's potentially affecting those sectors of the industry. And then it gets a really clear barometer about how freight volumes are going to be performing as you get out there and really understand what is happening in intermodal. It's one of the, if not the oldest mode of transportation currently in effect. Obviously, as horse and buggy are no longer a viable option. So again, it's a big part of the industry. It's not going away. And you guys need to learn more about it. So hit up my friends at IANA. But that's going to be it for this little episode recap and these mashups. So hit them up, you guys. As always, if you get value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.